Welcome to Off the Record, a legal podcast.
Hey everyone, welcome back to an all-new episode of Off the Record with Rhett Burney. I'm your host, Mike Leon. Rhett here is an experienced family law and estate planning attorney serving the upstate of South Carolina for more than 30 years, and he's helped clients navigate divorce, custody, and complex financial matters. And one issue that can quickly complicate a case is hidden money or undisclosed assets. Today's episode, we're going to be talking about what really happens when one spouse isn't being completely honest about their finances. I'm laughing because my wife is in the other room, and how the court handles it and when those secrets come to light. Right? It's good to see you. So when someone comes to you right now, they're going through a divorce. How do you help them start understanding what their full financial picture looks like?
Yeah, so we start out with a financial declaration. We want to know, what you owe and what you own. And then we have them make a list of what they think their spouse may owe or own. And then we start getting, into the details. What type of work do they do? Are they just a W-2 employee or do they own their own business? And so once we start breaking that down, then we know which way to go. We start looking at how these assets may be divided and how we find them in order to divide them.
Red, what are some signs that you've seen in your years of experience that a spouse is hiding money or assets during the divorce?
Yeah, and it happens all the time, by the way. Just reports, for instance, when one spouse says, yeah, we used to have $100,000 of cash in the safe in the back, and it's no longer there, right? We have those types of issues. If two parties are just regular people, W-2 jobs, two engineers, two teachers, it's a little more difficult for them to hide money. It's when we have self-employed people, they own their own businesses, they deal in a lot of cash, they're having to move things here and there, that tend to look a little bit more deeply. When they have lots and lots of accounts, money's being moved back and forth. That causes problems. And then once that happens, the lawyers can only do so much. We have to bring in forensic accountants, people who can dive into the numbers and find the discrepancies and see where money's being moved to. And that tends to, you turn over one stone, there's something else that you found. You continue to go down these rabbit trails and hopefully find what may have been missing.
In the state of South Carolina specifically, what tools, what other processes does the court use to kind of uncover these undisclosed amounts, property, income?
Yeah, I happened to be involved yesterday and today in two different cases where we're having the issue of hidden assets. And in these particular cases, we get into the discovery process where we send out written questions, ask for certain documents. We send out subpoenas to banks and different people to see where assets may be. We get their tax records. We use a lot of forensic accountants to start looking into where they may see some of these discrepancies. So there's a whole host of tools that are at our disposal to help us deal with these things. Sometimes the court will even bring in a third party, such as a receiver or a sequestrator, to kind of take the assets, hold the assets, not let them dissipate anymore, collect the assets. So the court takes it very seriously when there's any type of hidden asset problems, which, believe it or not, is not unusual. Once the marriage goes south, then people start going into the self-preservation mode and things get moved around sometimes.
Red, how does the law view a situation in one of these examples where one spouse controls everything? The other spouse is completely left in the dark. Does it view it differently? How does it handle it?
Yeah, and that's not uncommon, right? You have that spouse who's taking care of the house and the other who's taking care of the money and the working and all of that. And then when the marriage dissolves, you have a person who is left in the dark, has no idea where the assets are or even where to start looking for anything. So what happens then is that allows us to start the discovery process so we can find the information that our client who doesn't know any of the information. So we find it out in order to start doing the analysis that we need to do as lawyers to make sure that our client's going to be protected and get a better outcome at the end of the case.
You talked about the cases that you've been covering over the last couple of days. So it doesn't have to be about those cases, but just in general, what are the potential consequences for someone that's intentionally hiding these assets in these divorce cases?
Yeah. So if it looks fishy in the court, sometimes we just can't prove it, but we can get enough circumstantial evidence to where the court is pretty convinced that their assets are being moved. Well, they can impute to that party the value of that asset. So, for instance, let's say we have a safe that we have pictures of having $100,000 in, and we have the spouse's videos of putting the money in, and we have the picture the day before the husband leaves, and it's not there anymore. Well, who could have taken it, right? And the court, they'll look at it, and the court can say, even though we don't have anybody with a video showing the husband moving the cash out, he's the only one that had the combination to the safe, and we know it was there. Who else could it be? So people, and cash usually gives us the biggest problem because it's hard to trace cash. So the court can then come in and say, well, we know it was there. It's now gone. Who else could have taken it? So they would impute that value to the husband's side of the equation when we're trying to divide the whole estate.
What about situations like in that example where it looked like hiding, but it was actually just like miscommunication or maybe some confusion? How have you seen these kind of play out?
Yeah, well, if it was just miscommunication, then they should be able to account for it. And it's also not unusual that when the marriage dissolves, one person's moving out, that spouse will take that $100,000 out of the safe so the other one doesn't. And it's not when we have those situations where that spouse will say, "Sure, I took the 100,000, but I put it over here just to make sure that it didn't disappear." So and that's always welcome. And I've had that occasion happen. I had a case one time. My client came to me. He said, "Rhett, I have a jacket and I have $250,000 sewed on the inside of the jacket. And when I went to get it, my wife had taken the jacket and then left. What should I do?" I told him, "You're out of luck. You're never going to be able to prove that you had $250,000 cash sewed in that jacket." But believe it or not, she brought it back, accounted for every penny of it. And I told him he may have been one of the most luckiest man in the world that has had an honest wife that he was going through a divorce with.
That is the luckiest man in the world. Go play the lotto tomorrow. Rhett, what about now a business is involved in the divorce proceedings of this couple? Like, how does that change the process of identifying and valuing some of the marital assets?
Yeah, it complicates things because there's so many tax benefits that a business provides to people, for write-offs and those sorts of things. And so various assets, various income overlaps, different expenses that you pay from your household can be paid by the business, or at least that's what's done. So when we have those types of situations, we have to have forensic accountants come in to look at the books to find out where the money's going, where it's being spent, where are the assets. Those that adds a completely different level of complexity to any case. It's not unusual; it happens all the time. We're well versed in it, but it does. It adds a lot of complexity, and it makes a case. It's not easy and doesn't get resolved quickly as just a regular. I'm dividing a 401k here and there because when you have businesses, not only you're dealing with the assets, you're dealing with what is the value of the business. So it's a lot of work when we have those types of cases.
Yeah. Rhett, and divorce in and of itself is an emotional process. How are you helping clients stay calm, focused throughout the process, especially when they could potentially feel betrayed financially?
Yeah, I mean that's one of the toughest things that we do because everybody wants their case dealt with that day and they want it over that day. And what we have to continuously remind clients that you don't necessarily get the best results by doing it the quickest. Sometimes lots of times it takes time to dive into these matters and find the answers to the questions that may be asked. And of course, no one likes going through this type of process, but they also don't like getting the short end of the stick. And I continuously remind them that they have to be patient. Let us do our job because we can't unearth hidden assets when we want to. It takes work. And when you start looking at the volumes of documents we have to look at, we're dealing with these types of cases, you know, I invite clients to do it with us as well, because then they can appreciate the work that it takes to get them to the end, and they understand why it takes so long. But from the emotional aspect of it, they're hurt and they want their day in court sometimes. But it's just continuously ensuring them that we'll get to the end of the case. All cases end, but it doesn't necessarily happen on their timetable.
As we wrap here in this episode, Rhett, for somebody that's maybe listening to this and they're starting to suspect something's not adding up financially, you know what I mean? What do you recommend that they do before they take action? What would you recommend that they do?
Yeah, start gathering all the evidence you can, your tax records, your bank records. If you have have a safe with $100,000 worth of cash, and start taking the pictures. The more information that we can be provided, the more we can provide to the court. Because just walking into court empty-handed and making accusations will get us nowhere, right? So if you're getting ready to go through that divorce, go ahead and start gathering the information that we'll need as a lawyer. Go ahead and schedule an appointment with a lawyer to talk about what you think you may be going through, so we can go ahead and start giving you the list of the things that you need to be on the lookout for, and what information we will need in order to protect you. Because it's always harder to play catch up. And if you think something's going on and you wait too long, we may not be able to fix it in the end.
Rhett, thanks for the time as always, man. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
And thank you to everyone out there listening to this episode of Off the Record with Rhett Burney over at Rhett Burney Law in Simpsonville, South Carolina. If you want to learn more about divorce, custody, or protecting your financial interest, do me a favor, visit rhettburney.com today to schedule a consultation with the team. Don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a review and comment, or share the episode with someone who needs to hear it. As always, I'm Mike Leon. See everybody next time.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.